Hi folks, welcome to Cortisco's Chess Center. Please like, share, and subscribe as we share our love for the greatest game in the world, chess. Hi folks, welcome back. And to my new viewers, welcome. We're starting to put more games on my chess channel here. I had a chess channel for years. I changed to news and politics for that, so I started this channel. I try to bring over some of my chess people and maybe some of them that I lost. Let's get to it. This is a great game. This is a good endgame lesson, I think. Really good mating net at the end. Those of you that don't play chess or beginners, you learn how to play chess backwards. Go from your endgame manuals. There's a lot online for free on endgames. Learn your endgames by heart first. That will give you a huge advantage. It seems counterproductive and backwards, but it's not. Let's get to it. Vincent Keymer versus Lanier Dominguez. Lanier is from Cuba, but now plays for the United States. I like Lanier. He's a cool guy. And this is quite a long game, so I'm just going to push through it. It's going to be a Queen's Gambit accepted. You see the Gambit there accepted. And, of course, you can't keep the pawn. And we'll just go through the opening. It's pretty much standard stuff. They played this. These guys play this stuff 100 times. Thousands maybe even. And we'll just go through here. And it's pretty much standard stuff. Like I said, if you want to slow it down and take a look at it, you can. It's pretty much, there's a small advantage for white here. But we're going to get down to this exchanges here pretty soon. All right, knight to e5. Here we go. Now, that knight's in a good spot. And that knight on g6 in front of the king is also in a good spot. So what does black do here? Do you leave the knight? If you take with the f-pawn, and you screw up black's pawns in front of his king, and black's e-pawn is isolated, so you pretty much have to take. Bishop takes. Knight takes e3. Now, that's fascinating. Oddly enough, white right now has a 2-point advantage. Lanier's played the opening not so strongly. And doesn't look like he's in bad shape to have a 2-point advantage almost, but he is. It's down to 1.8 now on the computer. I don't like knight takes e3. Frankly, I like f6. And then after f6, you go e5. And then maybe bring your queen over to e6 to promote the trade of queens. But the computer shows it as the best move. Knight takes. And that drops down to about 1.5 advantage for white. Now, here's the problem. I never would have saw bishop at d4. I don't know what the problem is with just pawn takes, but apparently we'll go into it. Just take a look what the computer says. After pawn takes, queen takes, check. And white's in a little bit of trouble here. King to f1 maybe. But then you lose the bishop. And that's the point of the whole exercise. Now you're up 2 pawns. So you can't take the knight with the pawn. So what you're going to have to do is do something else. So what do? Looks like there's mate here, right, guys? Well, no. The bishop is guarding. So what do? What do? Knight takes g4. Bishop takes. And right now it still shows a 2-point advantage for white. Dominguez is hanging in there, but the only reason why I'm showing this game is because of the beautiful mating net at the end. Knight to e5, protecting the bishop. But he's given up the exchange. Bishop takes, rook takes. Now what they call down the exchange, a bishop or a knight for a rook is considered down the exchange. Black has a bishop and a pawn for a knight. It's not the end of the world, but it's not that great either. Black is still hanging in there. Of course, you got two rooks. You want to use them both. Rook to c8. Now, why would he want to trade rooks so quickly? I think he's afraid of the fact that this rook's going to get down into his territory here and start picking off these pawns. Or the other rook's going to end up on the 7th rank, and that would be a disaster. So he decides to trade rooks. So white obliges him. I mean, what do you do here? This is a part of the game that's really tough. We're getting towards the end game here, and that's why I say study end games. So I think the human move would be rook to d8 for white. But he decided to chase the knight instead. So knight goes to c6, guarding that d8 square. And he's just going to move his king because he really doesn't want to get his bishop out with a check on the king here. So that's fine. Knight. Interesting. Because now, why won't he take that pawn? Well, let's see what happens. Say, hey, here's our free pawn. Let's take it. Well, that's a disaster. Rook to d8. What is black going to do? Tries to get his knight out. It's really tough here. It's really tough. White pushes the pawn. Can't move this bishop because it's pinned. So what do you do? It's just a losing position, and black's all tied up. So let's go back to the game. After bishop f3. Well, let's go back here. We got ahead of ourselves. I haven't done a lot of analyzing a long time on my YouTube channel, so I'm getting a little rusty, so bear with me. He decides to go knight takes g4. Now bishop takes queen. We saw this. And now rook to the open file. They traded. f4, chasing the knight. King comes up. We know taking the pawn isn't that great. He decides to go e5. He decides to go e5. Why is he giving away a pawn? He's not really. That pawn can't be saved. So he decides just to leave it. Bishop out. Pawn takes. Now knight takes. Because now the bishop is helping him out. The knight goes to f4. Bishop takes. Now right now black has a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook, which is technically even material. But it still shows an almost 2-point advantage for white. Dominguez has been down this whole game, and he was lucky to get this far, frankly. Bishop d5, wanting to trade. When you're kind of up material, you're in a really good position, especially in a game like this, those A and B pawns for black are going to be impossible, I think, for black to defend. So he just makes Luft for his king. Now, do you see why he did that here? Stop the video and see why he did that. Because black was going to lose a piece. If he didn't push that pawn and make an escape square for his king, say he did something like knight here, what do you think he would do? Well, this loses a piece. Knight checks. Can't take because the bishop is pinned, forcing the king to move. And then this rook takes. And that's the end of that. So let's go back. After g6, white's trying to maneuver his knight around. Knight and rooks are pretty good coordinated together. The best coordination is knight and queen. But knight and rook is pretty good too. Knight to b4. He's just trying to get the knight out of the way so he can start pushing his pawns. But he goes there hoping to win the piece. Because if you notice, if pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, hitting the bishop twice, and there's only one defender. So he moves to attack the rook. The rook goes to c8. Great move because if he plays pawn takes pawn, knight takes. A double attacking the bishop and attacking a knight at the same time. He goes knight to e7, rook to a8. He's just going to start mopping up these pawns. h5, what else can he do? He's stuck. King to e2. Knight comes up. King d3. b4. h3. Let's go through a few moves here. Check. King moves. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Knight to h6. Chase the knight again. The knight goes there. Now, where can you find the winning move here? What's the winning move? Stop the video, and there's a winning move on the spot. Now, it's a second move on the computer off screen, but they're both the same. Knight to f6. And then e7. But the move I like is prettier. Oh, we'll take a look at that one. We'll say knight goes to f6, check. Knight goes f6, check. King goes to g7. Pawn goes to e7. Now you see why bishop can't take? If bishop takes, rook mates. That's pretty pretty. But I think this is a lot cleaner. e7. Now if the bishop takes, or should the bishop just moves?
Mate.
That's mate. So say you can't go there. All right, say bishop takes. What do you do? What do you do? Knight checks, but it's double check. Same configuration as before. What a beautiful mating net. So there you go, folks. Like I said, I'm a little rusty on analyzing games. Bear with me. I'll get the hang of it again. But that was a beautiful game by Vincent Keymer against my buddy Dominguez. You know, I felt bad Dominguez lost. But he didn't play the opening that well in the middle game, and he was behind, and he just didn't have it. And this was part of the third Grand Prix. This is the B pool. And I do have to give congratulations to Carl Nakamura, my buddy from the U.S. Like Carl a lot. He qualified to get in the candidates tournament, even though he hasn't played classical chess in 2 years. For those you don't know, the candidates tournament is 8-person tournament to be played, and the winner of that tournament plays for the World Championship. So this is what a lot of these Grand Prix tournaments were about, having people qualify. Kind of like for you football people, analogy would be you play the regular season, and you get to determine from that who goes into the playoffs, and from that you go who goes to the Super Bowl. Kind of the same. Anyway, I thought you liked that mating net at the end. Endgames are really, really important. So there it is. Beautiful. Chess is such a beautiful game. Until the next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.